first formal news conference since being elected, Donald Trump has rounded on America's intelligence agencies. He suggested they might have been responsible for reports that Russia had gathered compromising information about him. The president-elect denied that he was in any way beholden to Russia, and he repeatedly criticised some media organisations for spreading what he called fake news. With just 9 days to go until Mr. Trump becomes president, our diplomatic correspondent James Robbins has this report.
Donald Trump is 9 days away from inauguration as president and America's commander-in-chief, but his path to the White House is now tangled in extraordinary controversy. What role might the Kremlin under President Putin have played? To help Mr. Trump, to undermine Hillary Clinton, and perhaps also to gather compromising material to use against President Trump once he's in power.
My friend and the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
This afternoon, Donald Trump was blunt. The allegations against him are totally untrue, designed to undermine him.
Thank you very much. It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. And it was gotten by opponents of ours, as you know, because you reported it, and so did many of the other people. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together.
So what could Moscow's role have been? In shadowy work both to promote Donald Trump and also gain a hold over him. Here he is visiting the Russian capital in 2013 for the Miss Universe pageant, then co-owned by Mr. Trump. The most lurid claim is that he used the same hotel suite which President Obama had stayed in for unusual acts involving sex workers, all of it allegedly recorded by Russian spy cameras and microphones.
I was in Russia years ago with the Miss Universe contest, which did very well. Moscow, the Moscow area, did very, very well. And I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place. And again, not just Russia, all over. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way.
The source for the unproved claims is said to be a former British spy, an ex-MI6 officer who was once based in Moscow. Today, Dmitry Peskov, President Putin's spokesman, said the allegations were pulp fiction, a clear attempt to damage relations. Mr. Trump says he's in no way compromised by Vladimir Putin's preference for him as the next president.
If Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability, because we have a horrible relationship with Russia. Russia can help us fight ISIS, which, by the way, is #1 tricky. I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do. But there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break. Okay.
The press conference got most heated when CNN, one news organisation which has covered the latest allegations extensively, tried to put a question.
Since you are attacking our news organization,
not you.
Can you give us a chance?
Your organization is terrible.
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization is terrible.
Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir, can you
go, these papers are just some of the many documents.
Mr. Trump also used the occasion to display some of the legal documents, turning his businesses over to his family. It's his response to accusations of future conflicts of interest. But the controversies surrounding Donald Trump and Russia are not going away. Those who voted for him and those who rejected him all know his presidency will be a stormy one. James Robbins, BBC News.
Well, let's talk a little more and let's go to Washington and join Paul Wood, our North America correspondent. This report today, Paul, that's caused so much of a rumpus and all these heated exchanges, what have you found out about it?
Well, let's not lose sight of the central allegation here, which is that Donald Trump, President-elect of the United States, is vulnerable to blackmail by the Russians. That is such an extraordinary claim. So much depends on the credibility of the author of this dossier. He has now been named as Christopher Steele, a former MI6 agent who was in Moscow in the early 1990s. And speaking to one intelligence source, he is apparently very highly regarded among his peers as competent and trustworthy. And that reputation, I think, is one of the main reasons why what he said the allegations he repeated from Russian security officers were taken so seriously by the American intelligence institutions. I spoke to one intermediary. You can't speak to CIA case officers directly, but I spoke to an intermediary, and a message came back from the people dealing with this file that they found it credible, that there was more than one tape, that there was an audio tape as well as a videotape, that there were several times that these activities supposedly took place, and in more than one location, not just the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow, but St. Petersburg as well. Now, the fact that the CIA apparently finds these allegations credible and credible enough to put on President Obama's desk is not them saying they believe the allegations, they are just saying they are worthy of consideration. One further thing, this former MI6 officer is not the only source. I spoke to a retired spy last August who said he had been told of the existence of a blackmail tape by the head of an East European intelligence agency over the summer. We should stress in all of this, these are just allegations, and Mr. Trump is literally correct when he says they are unsubstantiated. Nevertheless, Americans are in the incredible position, 9 days before the inauguration, of having to decide whether their president-elect is a Russian agent of influence.
Paul, thank you very much for bringing us up to date there. Paul Wood there in Washington. Well, as Donald Trump faced the media, his nominee for Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, was facing questions from a panel of senators who are considering his suitability for that post.